For a lot of people around the world, the day doesn't really start until you've had your morning cornflakes. And why not? Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, they say. It's a routine that's as old as time. Get up, shower, mug of tea and cornflakes, have a long poo, ready for anything. Cornflakes are as traditional a breakfast as eggs and soldiers.
But the tale behind them hasn't been a particularly nice one. It's one that's taken a rather sinister turning. It's not a story that goes from this to this, rather one that goes from this to this via this, but not this. Welcome to the Curious Man's Guide to Kellogg.
Dr John Harvey Kellogg is the man responsible for popular breakfast cereals. Hello. If he was alive today, his ideas might be called radical. He thought that hysteria was a disease of the uterus, for instance. He also had a beard, but that bit's not important.
He patented inventions left, right and centre, like this.
The use of direct light as a cure for baldness. He patented the two-person foot vibrator and the slapping machine, which, if it were around today, might have worked like this. In 1876, he became the medical head of the Battle Creek Sanitarium, a health resort in Michigan, where, like any good doctor, he subscribed to the idea that the best form of treatment was fresh air and plenty of exercise. And enemas too. Lots and lots of enemas.
He treated more than his fair share of patients while he was there, patients suffering from almost every ailment in the world.
But a large proportion of his time was taken with the pursuit to rid the world of what he saw as a terrible disease. A disease worse than smallpox or polio. This was the disease known as the solitary vice, masturbation. In the late 1800s, Dr. Kellogg published his thoughts on the matter in a book called Plain Facts for Old and Young. In it, he categorized 39 different symptoms of masturbation. If you had worms, it was because you masturbated. If you were stressed out, it was because you masturbated. If you couldn't sleep or were forgetful, it was because you masturbated.
Did you wet the bed as a child? Did you bite your nails or develop acne through puberty? Were you too shy or even too confident? A surefire sign if ever there was one.
It could make you mad. It could hunch your shoulders. It could even give you tuberculosis, he reckoned. In women, it gave you womb cancer, caused sterility and gave you warts at the end of your fingers.
So how did he suggest going about treating this disease? Well, like many things in life, masturbation, Dr. Kellogg said, was down to a bad diet.
Things like meat, eggs, caffeine, sugar, spices, cloves and peppermint, they were all seen as arousive foodstuffs and needed to be cut out of the diet straight away.
He thought that these foods made you constipated, which in turn made you horny, which just wouldn't do.
So that's why at Battle Creek he prescribed daily enemas of yoghurt, which was a practice that didn't really catch on.
He prescribed electric baths to treat the condition. He prescribed electrocutions of the penis and the scrotum. He would insist on performing circumcisions without any form of anaesthetic, believing that the patients would remember the pain the operation caused and never be tempted to touch themselves again.
For persistent offenders, he'd get more involved in the surgical side of things. He'd routinely extract part of the bowel in order to aid digestion and quell the need to self-abuse. In men, he was a big fan of sewing the penis up through whatever foreskin was remaining. He used silver wire, so any form of erection meant, well, quite.
And the ladies got it twice as bad. He was an advocate of female circumcision and would routinely burn his patients' clitorises with carbolic acid, or as in one 10-year-old girl's case, surgically remove it altogether.
Eventually, the answers struck him. If these symptoms were largely caused by a person's diet, then why couldn't the cure be found in the diet too? And so the cornflake was born. A completely natural product with nothing bad in it at all. It was wholesome, natural, and good for you. And together with his brother Will, a nice brother who was more into business than destroying people's sexual organs and who probably didn't really care if people masturbated or not, the Kellogg's company was formed. Will then bastardized the recipe, adding the dreaded ingredient sugar, and went on to sell millions. The two brothers never spoke again.
So there you have it, a lovely morning snack with an inexplicably horrible history.
Although I have to admit, when I'm having my cornflakes in the morning, having a quick fiddle is the last thing on my mind. So maybe he was onto something after all.